Hi all, this is Cecil Maria Joy and with me is Thomas Siddhi.
Hello all.
And we are your hosts for the day. And welcome to Spill the Code, the Masters Club by the Masters for the Masters, organized by Code Christ College of Engineering, Iringalkuda. Christ College of Engineering, Iringalkuda, established in 2015, is a new entrant in the field of professional educational providers. Our college is managed by the CMI congregation of Devamada province and is a part of Christ Educational and Charitable Trust Iringalkuda.
CODE, the Community of Developers, is an organization of the Department of Computer Science, Christ College of Engineering. CODE has been conducting various programs including hackathons, coding competitions, workshops for the past 3 years. Spill the Code is an interactive session, a chat show organized by CODE. On 15th September, we are celebrating the Engineers Day, the birthday of the first engineer in India, Visvasareva. On this special occasion, we have with us Mr. Aditya Podar.
Hello.
Aditya Podar did his BTech from PES School of Engineering. Afterwards, he joined at Google as a technical solution engineer. So now, let me call upon Cyril Paul, the technical head of CODE, to officially welcome each and everyone gathered here. Cyril, you're not audible.
Thank you, Susan. A very good evening to Mr. Aditya Poddar and everyone present. I'd like to thank him for accepting our invite and joining us on a session to share his experiences and enlightening our modern engineering community of developers. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Spill the Code.
Thank you.
Hope you have an amazing session and learn a lot from your experiences and insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyril. So, sir, we are very happy to have you here, and we sure do have a lot of questions for you. So, if students having any questions, do mention it in the chat box. We will call out your names so you can unmute your microphone and ask the question. And the first question comes from myself, sir. So, how has been this journey from this student at PES College of Engineering to this employee at Google?
Yeah, thank you first of all for inviting me. It's a pleasure to share my experience, and I hope at the end of the session you get to learn something and grow as well. It has been a great experience actually. I don't have that much of experience because it has been just a month since I joined Google, and so I am yet a student. So a humble request, please don't call me sir because I am your age and I haven't even passed out yet. I have just given my exams. So yeah, so that is one thing, and the experience has been great, especially in a company like Google. The culture is really great. So you get to meet such brilliant people there, and the core fundamental that you actually get to interact with anyone at any. You can just book up a slot with anyone who is free in their calendar, and just talk to them about anything without an agenda. So it's a great experience actually. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you for the introduction that was great. And yeah, so that's that. And I want to understand the format of the session. So you'll be asking me questions and I'll be answering them because I had prepared a few points myself as well.
Yes, that's how we are going.
Okay, cool. Because I thought I might have to talk something because I have actually never conducted a session before, so this is my first time. So pardon me if I make some mistakes or something like that. And yeah.
So all the students can highlight themselves in the chat box having a question, so we can call upon them, and then you can unmute your microphones and ask your questions directly to Mr. Aditya as well.
So, sir, we have a question from K. Abhishek Menon. So, I request Abhishek to unmute your mic and ask the question.
Good
Abhishek?
evening. What is the work environment and culture like it?
Sorry, you are not audible. Actually, I think it would be great if you type the
Hello.
question first in the chat and then actually unmute it. So just in case your voice breaks up, I can read it and directly answer. Yeah, you're audible now.
Hello, Abhishek.
Yes, Abhishek, you can go on now.
I
I think we have lost Abhishek. I think there will be a network issue. So next, move on. Let's move on to the next
what is the
question.
work
We
environment?
have a question from.
I think Abhishek is trying to convey the question: what is the work culture over there?
Okay, yeah. So it's a really frequently asked question, and we all know it's Google after all. So the work culture is great. So one of the things is that I thought that we might, because of the COVID situation, we are all working from home. Unlike the real situation when I would have to go to office and actually get to meet a lot of people. The work culture is really great because we have this psychology like, okay, someone is in Google and they are like really great. They might be arrogant or something like that. But no, actually the people are a lot more humble, and you can just absolutely talk to anyone. So we have a work from home situation. So initially in the first month, all we got to do was, before we haven't even started working actually, in the first month we just had a 2 week session in which we had to just interact with our teammates, which had joined new, with our manager, and with all the people we'll be working with. In fact, we just had to schedule meetings and get to know them better, so it would be easy to interact them when we are actually working. The work culture is really great because the way people treat you in generally in companies, we hear a lot about corporate culture, that there might be a hierarchy, you have a boss and he'll treat you like this, he'll treat you like that. But it has been since a month at Google, and I have not felt like that in any terms. The manager himself or even the other people we get to interact with are just so humble. uh, One of the things I get to hear in every meeting is that you can absolutely talk to anyone, you can convey any issues you have. It feels like they actually care about the employees. So yeah, that is one of the things, because when we sit to work, we do realize that one of the things is, when you so there are two type of things. One is positive reinforcement and one is negative reinforcement. That is one, if you don't do a work, you get punished, or if you do good work, you get rewarded. So one of the things I feel that Google follows is that if you do work, you get rewarded. I haven't seen that you get punished or anything such like that. So it's a great thing, and it keeps us motivated to actually give our best and perform. So yeah, that is one of the great things.
Indeed, that was great to hear. We have another question from Karthik Kannan. I guess you can unmute your microphone, Karthik.
Yeah, hi,
There.
Aditya. So I wanted to ask if you did any projects before getting the job, and has it helped you with your employment, like getting into Google?
Okay, so that's a great question actually. So one of the things I would like to mention is that for me it was a campus placement. The placement at Google. So there are two ways you can get placed. One is that you apply off campus. That is, you apply through Google careers page and your resume gets shortlisted, and then the further procedure happens. And then there is a campus placement in which they have a certain criteria. If you qualify that, then you can apply for it. Then they have test and stuff. So for me personally, we had a campus placement, so there was no resume shortlisting as such. So that wasn't the big deal. But like you mentioned, projects. Yes, I have done a few projects, but none of them were like really too complex. But the thing about projects and stuff is that rather than lying on your resume about great projects and using big words, one thing you should keep in mind is that you should know your stuff. Whatever you write should be honest, because it's not for Google, it's for every company, because they have been hiring for years and years now. And even before you answer, the way you react to the question, they understand that do you know your stuff or not. So the main point is, whatever you write on your resume, whatever projects you have done, that the first thing is that you should not do projects for your resume. You should do it to learn. You are learning a new skill, do a project, so you get practical hands-on experience. And if you have done project in that way, you will actually know the stuff, so you won't have to learn stuff before you go into an interview. And you won't have to use big words, so that you should be able to justify that, yeah, I have done this and I know my stuff. And yeah, so that's the main thing you should focus on. I didn't do much projects. Like I have done a few, 2 or 3 projects, but they were really simple. And even in my interview, it was not resume based, so not much was asked on projects specifically. So, but for other companies, like I had my placement experience recently, I have sat for a lot of interviews. So yes, projects do matter, but it depends. So there are two types of company that come to hire. One which have resume based shortlisting, and then they ask you to justify your resume, and the questions and the interviews path is based on what you have written on resume. Some are role based, in which they already have a specific set of questions they are going to ask. There are some focus areas. So in that, the resume doesn't matter that much. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So if it is resume based, then you should write about projects and you should have done projects, and you should be thorough with the topics that were covered in that. You should have actually worked on them, not just copied code from Git, and we all do that stuff.
Yeah, that's actually very new to us because the resume based and project based interviews, that's actually a very new information for us. And so, Aditya, can you please elaborate on your projects which you have done?
I'm not really proud of them because they were really simple. So I have done mini projects on database management and a few on computer graphics. My final year project was on natural language processing. But honestly speaking, the resume and the projects didn't actually help me much because none of the companies in which I sat were resume based. So there was one, and I actually did not clear that interview. So I wouldn't be the right person to guide you in that direction. I don't
Okay.
want to give you the wrong details. So yeah.
Okay. We have a question from Sharat. So, Sharat, please do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Good evening, Aditya. My question is like that. When you chose engineering, what was your motivation behind choosing engineering field? And did you dream about working at a dream company like Google when you started engineering?
Okay, that's a great question as well. So I understand there are two questions. One of them is what was my motivation in taking engineering, and the second one is did I ever dream about getting into the big four or a company like Google? So to answer your first question, why did I take engineering? So I really liked maths, and I was like, okay, I'll choose a career that has maths involved in it. And so that was one of the things. And we have limited. So one of the things I would like to talk, I'd actually thought about this was how was I before college, and how did my mindset change during college and now getting into a company like that. So when I had not gotten into college, one of the things and one of the mistakes I made, that was I had limited vision. I was really rigid about what I can do, what I want to do, and what I will do. And that is one of the mistakes we actually make a lot. But the issue with that is we limit our vision. We do not explore all the fields that we have. So that uh, that creates issue when you further go down the line and you find that okay, this does not interest me, and I have chosen the wrong kind of career, and this might not be for me. So one of the things is that you should explore all fields. And for me personally, engineering, I just took it because of maths. And for us, during 12th, I did not explore much. I just knew there is science, commerce, and arts, and I wanted to take science, and I liked maths, so I took science with maths, and the pathway was engineering. And I wasn't particularly good with any of the engineering stuff, that is computer science or any of the other fields, just in case. But yeah, that's one of the things. And there was no specific. I just took engineering because I liked maths. So that's pretty much it. And to answer the question, did I ever dream about getting into a company like Google? We all do have that dream, but it's not like I just wanted. I had aimed to get into Google. The main thing is just growing and just learning from what you have done, and just taking baby steps and thinking, okay, this is the right thing to do right now. Having a long-term goal. Honestly, I had not thought about getting into Google, but I had not even thought that I can't get into Google. So that is one of the things. You should always keep hope. You should not get demotivated. You should always dream for the highest thing you can, and then plan and take baby steps to reach that dream. I guess that answers your question, or did I leave something out?
Thank you, Aditya.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That was indeed great, Aditya. We have a question from Noel Jiju, I guess. Noel, you can unmute your microphone.
Yes, good evening. Hello, Aditya.
Hello.
My question is that what role does internships play? Like, do you have a certain preference regarding internships and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So internships help us a lot, and I think, in fact, before you get into a corporate company, or before you pass out, you should do at least one internship, because it gives you a complete hands-on experience how the industry works. You actually get to work on stuff, and also we actually know that there is a lot of gap between what we study and what we actually have to do in a company. So when you get into an internship, you actually realize what the gap is and what is the thing that actually matters for your work and how do you grow. Also, internships, it's not just that you should do any internship. You should keep in mind what kind of internship you are going to do. We generally try to get internships that pay us a lot and stuff like that, but the only thing you should have in mind during doing an internship is to learn, the place where you can learn the most. In fact, I do recommend that you should do an internship in a startup where you actually get to do a lot of core stuff, because internships are not that hard to get. If you go on any of the platforms like I forgot the name, Internshala, yeah. So you can actually get a lot of internships in which you do not even have to go to the office. You can do it from home. So internships actually, you actually get to do the work, so you realize, and even how the hierarchy is, how the systems work. So it actually helps you during interviews, and when you actually go to sit, you know what you're saying, and it also helps you develop the soft skills. So internship should be done. So for us there was an compulsory internship, and because some people did not get an internship, they actually did a digital marketing internship, or in internship they had just to decorate stuff. So I don't think those kind of internships actually do you any good. As an engineer, you should actually try to get an internship where you are actually working on core development or any of the interest areas that you have, so that you actually get to realize what the work is done, and so that you can improvise your pathways for the future.
Yes,
And yes, internships do play a very important role in your growth as well as on your resume.
yes, a lot of students actually do internships to get certificates and activity points. So it's actually good to hear. And I'm sure that a lot of students might have gotten the real use of internship. So next we have a question from Priyanka. Priyanka, please do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Just a second, I would like to follow up on the answer before. That is one of the biggest mistakes. You should never do anything just for certification or just to put it on your resume. Your only goal should be to learn. If you learn, then it will be useful, because end of the day you have to justify it in one form or the other.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's actually a good information for many of the students. So next we have a question from Priyanka. Priyanka, do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Hi Aditya. I wanted to ask if you were into competitive coding during your college days.
Yes, I actually started competitive coding because of a senior I met in my second year. I wasn't that regular, but yes, competitive coding is very important if you want to get into good product based companies, because the first level is actually competitive coding. Like, I don't know what's the process for companies that come to your college. For our college, the first was always a test. It was through an online portal. So if we are talking specifically about placement, so there are three things you should focus on. First is the test that will have competitive coding aptitude and technical aptitude, and then is the interview. If you have an amazing resume, even if you have an amazing work experience, you do have to qualify the first stage, that is aptitude and coding. So unless you have hands-on experience with competitive coding, you won't go to the next stage of an interview where you get to justify your resume or your projects or your work experience. So competitive coding is very, very important. And the most important part is that you should keep doing it and keep practicing it like regularly, and you should start enjoying it actually, because even if you are looking for a job into a core development profile, that is what you are going to do at the end of the day. So yeah, it is very important. And yes, I had started competitive coding. I was not that regular initially, but I kept doing it and kept doing it. And yes, it was one of the things that happened during my place. So my placement started when I was in seventh semester. And it went on for a year long. It started in August actually, and I got placed in January in Google. So I did sit for around 12 to 15 companies, and honestly, for all of them, the first stage was competitive coding. And the difference between people who did qualify and did not qualify for the test was competitive coding. People who realized in August that they have to do competitive coding, they were able to crack companies 3 months, 4 months later, because they actually started doing competitive coding. And the people who could not were the ones who were left out behind and did not do competitive coding actually.
And absolutely, we have, I think, plenty of platforms to develop on our coding skills as well these days.
Right. There are so many platforms. You have HackerRank, HackerEarth, Codeforce, CodeChef. CodeChef is actually an Indian website. It's funded by DirectEye. So there are no lack of resources online. If you just go and search for what should be the best tips you need to do for placement, what are the topics you need to cover for placements, it's all there in the internet. You just have to make an effort to search it out.
Indeed. So next we have a question from Phillips George. Phillips, you can unmute your microphone.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
I have a question about the training programs offered by Google.
Training programs. Do you mean the certification courses?
Yeah.
Sorry, I do not understand your question. What you're trying to ask?
Let's check.
Are you trying to ask if they are useful or not?
It's about the what do I say?
I think there is a technical issue there. We can't hear him anymore. We will move on to the next person. George Mecheri, if you're there, you can unmute your microphone.
Good afternoon, Aditya.
Hello.
My question is, what type of questions are exactly going to be asked for technical rounds of interviews? Like the
Okay.
one you got to do.
Right. So just like I told before, there are two types of interviews. One are product based, like they are role related, and some are resume based. So in resume based, it's really easy. They'll start by asking you basic stuff about you, and then they'll take up projects and ask you to justify your knowledge on them. Then they'll extrapolate on the topics you have covered in the projects or internships. So that is one thing. And the ones that are role related that I have faced mostly are, so basically there are a few set of things that are generally very commonly asked in interviews. So there are two types of things in that. One is coding, and the second is your core subjects. So in coding, there are you should be very thorough with data structures and algorithms. So there are a set of in fact, if you just go on Geeks for Geeks, you'll find a set of very common questions that have been asked in tests and interviews. You have to cover a few basic topics, and as the companies become better, the difficulty level increases. And then there are some core subjects like database, networks, operating systems, and again database and algorithms, not the coding part, the concepts part, how they work actually. And then there is I think operating system. Linux is very important. In fact, in short, all of your core subjects are mostly covered. And then it comes down to what kind of role is being offered. So it varies from place to place, but a set of things are really common, and those are your core subjects and the coding part. And
Thank you very much.
and if you want to see general questions, I can I think I might have a link. Just a second. I'll paste it on the chat. I did send it. I'll send it by the end of the meeting. We can continue with that.
I think what Phillips was asking was about the training which Google gives you when you get recruited at Google, maybe?
Okay, so I am currently in the training phase right now. I still don't understand the question. So, are you trying to ask about what kind of the training program is, or how does it benefit me?
I think so. I think so. That's
So,
what he said.
as you know, Google wants their employees to do their best. So they have a set of training programs that are role related, and they have the right list for what skills are needed, the technical and the non-technical part of it. So they have an extensive program which covers what all do you need to uh, learn to do it. Part of it is self-study, and a part of it is which people conduct it for you, which people teach you, and there is a lot of hands-on experience. So one of the experience I would like to share in this is, I got recruited in January, and I actually joined during August. So I had a few calls with my recruiter to get to know what the status of the application is and what are the things. So I actually asked him what is, so we have a work from home situation. We do not have much load from college. So is there anything, so my role is technical solution engineer at Google Cloud. So we'll be providing support for people who use GCP. That is Google Cloud Platform. If they have any issues, if there are any bugs, we have to solve that. So I actually asked my recruiter if there is something I need to do beforehand to learn so that the training experience becomes smoother. And he just told me one thing, that no, you have actually qualified everything. You have been selected. Now you just have to be ready to absorb. So there is so much to learn. There is so much they will teach. You just have to keep an open mind, a fresh mind, and you just have to absorb. So that's the kind of training program they have. And in fact, my official training program started last week. For a month, there was not. It was not officially. They were not training us for the job. But still, in the 3 to 4 weeks time, I learned so much that I haven't even learned in 4 to 5 years of my life. So yes, they do have a very extensive training program, and that helps us a lot in developing both technical and soft skills.
Okay. That's great to know. And thank you for your readiness to share these links to us earlier when you tried to share this. Thank you for your readiness to share these links. And next we have a question from Cyril. Cyril, do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So some people during the course of BTech, they get involved in multitude of technologies and languages, while some other people, they dig deep into data structures and concepts about programming. So what do you think is more important, or do you have a preference when you're sitting for an interview?
So yeah, if I understand your question right, you are trying to ask if we should focus on the theory part of data structures and algorithms or the coding part, or are you asking about the different various fields in computer science that we
So
have?
like we have a lot of new budding technologies, right? Like for
Right.
Google, we have Flutter and other different languages, and we are not taught all these stuff officially. So some people, they go out of their way and learn all these stuff, different languages, different new technologies. But some people, what they do is they concentrate on what we're learning and they go far deeper than what we are taught. And what do you think it plays more important role when you're sitting for an interview?
Okay, right. I get your question. So the thing is, if you have done coding in multiple languages and stuff like that, you will realize that they have their concepts common. So if you are clear with your concepts in one, if you take up one programming language, you get your concepts right, you get the logics right, you get your algorithms right. It doesn't matter if you switch to the other language, because there is just a difference of syntax. And mostly, like, there might be some differences, but it won't be tough for you to transition if you have got your concepts right. So it doesn't matter what language you choose or what technology you choose. Again, it comes down to your basic concepts, that if you are thorough with those, you won't find trouble transitioning in technologies. So that is one thing you should focus on. Like, we have C++, we have C, we have Java, we have Python, we have Go. There are, I can't even list all the languages, but if you go around, you'll see that most of the concepts, the basic concepts are common. Even the advanced concepts, they rotate around the same portfolio. So if you're thorough with those concepts, it doesn't matter what technology you are using. It won't take much time for you to transition into technologies if you've got your concepts right. So yeah.
Thank you for the info, Aditya. Next, we have a question from Ansia Naushad. You can unmute your microphone and see if you're there.
Hi, Aditya. Even though a lot of engineering students are being graduated every year, only a few of them are employable. So, how do you think we can make ourselves industry ready?
That's a really good question. So, I'm not sure how to answer that question actually, because uh, I'll get back to this question at the end of the session. I actually need to think about this one. This is a tough one.
Okay. So next, moving on, we have a question from Grace Leon. So Grace, do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Okay. Hey Aditya,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a final year BTech student, and as we are final year students, we wish to be placed in a reputed company, and we do have worries about what all kind of person may be selected by the company, or whether they hire the people who are technically sound or having good programming skills like that. Or you have already mentioned about competitive coding like that. So, from your experience, what is your opinion about the hiring procedure, and what all tips can you give us as we are freshers to the industry?
Right. So I think I have talked about it before as well, but I don't mind repeating it. So again, there are a few very common things that are asked in most of the interviews. You can find it all online. The process is almost same for all the companies. So you have to write a coding test, or generally there is aptitude, and then there is an interview. So one of the things that people make a lot of mistake is that generally in the coding test there is aptitude, and the aptitude is not of that much weightage as the coding part is. But you do have to remember that all the companies do have a sectional cutoff, so you should be good in it's not that you can perform in one of the fields your best and then you can get a zero in the other field. So you need to be thorough with all of them. You should be good at all of them. So as you're a final year student, so I generally talk to my juniors about this. So you should focus on it stage by stage. So the first stage is the test, and the things that are covered in it is the aptitude and the coding test. So there is a really great website called indiabix.com. You can find you can find aptitude questions on that, and there are timed tests. So in 20 minutes you have to do 10 questions. So you can take up those. So aptitude doesn't take that much of time. So you can do it when you are saturated with all the coding part of it. So you can just you see it as a game. So you start doing that. You do 5 questions a day for aptitude. You do 10 tomorrow. You do 20 tomorrow. So that is how you'll develop an aptitude. So so the best part is in the tests you have a time limit. So you have 2 hours. You have to do 2 coding questions, and you have to do 15 aptitude tests. So if you are great with the aptitude, it won't take much time, and you'll get the time for coding. So the first step is to focus on aptitude and not forget about it, because it doesn't have that much weightage, because there is sectional cutoff. The second part of it is coding. There is no shortcut to coding. You have to practice it. You take up topics one by one. You start with arrays, then you move on to strings, then you move on to stacks, queues, topic by topic. If you are thorough, so if you are some companies which are tier 3 companies that will focus on arrays, strings, stacks. After you go a level up, they'll start focusing on linked lists. Then you go a level up, they'll start focusing on trees and other kind of data structures like maps and stuff like that. And then they'll start focusing on complex algorithms. So don't take that stress. Take it step by step. Do the first step, get your basics clear, then keep practicing the coding. That is the test part of it. Then you move on to the interview part of it. Now if you are thorough with coding, you don't have to worry about the coding part of it in interview as well, because if you can do it online, you can do it face to face as well. The part is the technical subject, the core subject. So you have had that in your curriculum, and you're familiar with those subjects, but a few parts of them are commonly asked that are repeated in every interview. For example, if you take a subject like networking, your protocols, like network protocols like TCP/IP protocols, UDP protocols, DNS, CDN, these are commonly asked questions. For Linux, you have file permissions, you have processes. So these are really commonly asked questions. So if you do them once, you can face them in any interview. So that is another thing. So focus, so get your concepts right is the one thing. Focus on every step is the second thing. Work on commonly asked questions is the third thing. And fourth thing is you will face rejections. You won't get placed in the first company. You might. If you might, that's great. But if you do not placed in the first company or the first 5 companies, it's not a big deal because you have to face it. Demotivation just gives you negative energy. It acts as a sink for your energy. Just learn from your mistakes. If you are able to face a question in an interview, great. If you are not able to face, one of the things that I followed my entire placement season was, if I am not able to answer a question in an interview, I have to make sure that in every other interview, if that same question is asked, I should not be in a situation that I'm not able to answer it. So learn from your mistakes, not get demotivated, keep going, be positive, and just work hard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditya, for your valuable inputs, getting in deep into the selection procedures. Next, we have a question from Krishna Santosh. Krishna, you can unmute your microphone.
Hi, Aditya. I'm curious, how was your first day at Google like?
So I was a college student. Before that, I was stepping into a new phase of my life. It was a job, and that was also at a company like Google. So I was really excited, and but the worst part about it is that if the COVID situation had not been there, we would be flying to Singapore for our orientation that evening. But because of that, that had to be cancelled, and it was a work from home situation. But still, Google, the culture at Google is that they make you feel valuable and they make up for it in any way possible. It was actually a really great experience. So I had my joining on 3rd August, and it was Raksha Bandhan as well, and festival at home and stuff like that. So it was really awesome, and I had received my laptop, and we were having our first meeting. There were a few high authority people in the meeting that were giving us insights on how to proceed at Google, and there were a few games and stuff like that. So it was a really great experience, and people were really humble, and we got to meet a lot of people online. We had a few meetings scheduled. Some were generally for all the new hires, some were team specific, some were with our managers, and they gave us the roadmap for how the things will be. It was a really great experience. The sheer excitement of joining a company, even if it would not have been Google, for any company, when you step into a new phase, when you would have transitioned from school to college, it would have been a great experience. So it's a way of life. You get to experience those new feelings. So yeah, it was really great. And yeah, I actually do have a photo to share if you guys are interested. Just a second. I'll present my screen right now. So yeah, this was the first meeting we had. There were around 170 new joinees, all their recruiters and all the people that were involved in the selection process. And yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
That's so nice of you to share your experiences with us.
Yes. And we have a question from Bijoy. So he has written it in the chat box. Have you had a chance to visit the Google office? How was it? Also, could you mention any company benefits you get as an employee of Google?
Okay. So as a employee of Google, I did not get to visit the campus, but as a interview experience, I got to visit the campus actually, and it was really great. Like so generally all the placements I had attended before I actually sat for the interview for Google, we had companies coming to our college and asking us to come to the campus at 8 o'clock, and then they would start the procedure at 11, and then we would all be made to sit in a common room, and then one by one they would call, and you wouldn't know what time your interview would be. You would have to sit till 4 or 5. And then after you are entirely exhausted and nervous with all the process that is going on, then you get to go into an interview, and half your energy is actually dissipated because of that. And then there are people coming out and they're telling you questions, and then you get to panic that, oh shit, I don't know this question, and then you start to learn it, and none of that is actually useful, but it just dissipates your energy. But that was actually the best thing about Google, that instead of actually calling us into a common area, they just created slots. They gave me a specific date and time I had to visit the Google office. They actually had sent the credentials that were needed to get it inside the office. As soon as I got into the office, my recruiter came. He took me to have breakfast, and there were sandwiches and cakes. And then he's like, "When you're done, I'll take you to the interview room." And then the office was really great. So I got to visit the Bangalore office, and they have this great thing that they have actually named the rooms on Indian festivals or places, and so for every room there is a different name. It's not like 101B or something. They have different name. So for me, I don't actually remember the name, but it was great. And there were like I don't know, but the food was actually great. We actually got to have breakfast, and the recruiter was actually waiting for me to finish so that he could take me to the interview room. The best part about it was we were not assembled commonly where you get to hear negative things. You were in your own space. You were in your own mindset. You could prepare yourself. The interview was scheduled at 11, and the interviewer actually came at 10:58 to be on time. And the interview was scheduled to end at 11:45, so it ended before the time or on time. It was not extended beyond that. We had 2 rounds of interviews. Then we actually went to have lunch, and the food was awesome. There was like a 7-course meal. There were desserts and sweets and all kinds of cuisines and shakes you could get, and all of that was. So there is a rule at Google that none of the employees should be 160 feet away from food. So they have just a free store of chocolates and chips and everything you need. So we got to eat, and the interviewers were so humble. They were actually there was no grilling at all. If you hesitate, they actually make you comfortable. They talk to you about it. They ask you to think on it. They give you time. So the experience was just awesome. The office was great. The food was great. The people were great, and the sheer amount of energy you get. And in fact, it's actually motivating when you go to an office and you see a culture like that. You feel like, yes, I have to do my best so that I get into a place like this and actually give my best. So yeah, that was my experience. That was my interview experience. So that was the one time I got to go at the office. Because of the work from home situation, we actually haven't got a chance to go there as an employee, but I'm looking forward to it soon.
When a person who gets employed at a company like Google, we are mainly thinking about the royalties and food, the main headquarters over there.
And the benefits are actually great. They cover almost everything. And I'm not sure how much of them am I supposed to talk about, because Google is very specific about confidentiality. So you can actually Google and check on Quora. There are benefits. So yeah, but it's great actually. Yeah.
Indeed. So you can go to next question by Karthik. Is written there. Have you skipped any classes, or like how would your professors describe you?
My professors wouldn't know me because I wasn't much in limelight. Yes, I did. I am a normal student with a normal student behavior, with a normal academic path. And yeah, I have bunked classes. I have enjoyed my time at college. I wasn't the person who would study all day or something like that. In fact, I don't know. I just had fun. I did bunk a lot of classes. We had a minimum 75% attendance situation, so mine was always on the borderline, I guess. Yeah.
Well, that's actually so great for us to hear, because most of the normal students will be very pleased to hear this. So next, moving on to the next question.
We have this mindset that if you want to get into the top, you have to just keep working all the time. So there is a concept of burnout. You need to balance things. If you keep working all the time, it will cause a burnout, and your productivity will itself decline. And you need to keep a balance. You work sometime, you have fun. So if you have fun, you'll have a positive mindset. Your mood will be refreshed, and then you can work. So that is one of the things that actually Google follows. They give you all those benefits so that you don't have to worry about other things, and you enjoy your time so that you can work better. So you don't have to work like 18 hours a day. If you can and it motivates, if you enjoy it, it's great. There is nothing wrong with that. But you should enjoy your work, and if you start enjoying your work, it doesn't come to a situation that you experience a burnout. So you should enjoy your time.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was told that I'm supposed to share my experience, that was the first thing that came to my mind. That was, I just had fun in my college. What am I going to talk about? So yeah, you should enjoy your time, because this time won't come. Once you step into a job, there will be responsibilities and stuff. So in college, you drive your curve. In job, your
Yeah.
work drives your curve. So you have to,
Yes.
so you have a time you have to give to your job. Then there are other things you have to make up for. Your college time won't come again. So you should enjoy it to the fullest as much as you can. But you should keep a balance. You should not lose focus of your goal.
Yes, this will be really useful for many of the students. So moving on to the next question, we have a question from Sharath. Sharath, unmute your mic and ask the question.
I just did share the link in the chat. If it's a great guide to follow.
Yeah.
It covers almost everything.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so
sharing.
much. Pratik. Thank you so much for sharing this link with us.
So hi again. So my question is like that. Like Google has one of the fanciest offices and the packages they give to employees. So when you hear about you have been recruited as a Google employee, what was your disappointment like? Like having to work from home over the awesome Google environment and those free food, those milkshakes and everything.
Okay, you are touching one of the pain points. So we were told that so at Google, people who join new, they have their orientation in Singapore for 2 weeks, and then they have a training program following it. And we were told that our orientation will be in Singapore. So the day we are joining, the next day evening we'll be flying out to Singapore for your orientation to get to know people and stuff like that. And following that, there will be a 3-month training session which will happen in either Canada or Sydney or Texas, Austin. So working from home, the biggest disappointment is that I have to learn it all from home, and I'm not going to get to meet people and experience those foreign trips.
Okay, and next, we will move on to the next question. Sonu, I guess Sonu has a question.
I also shared the aptitude websites link in the chat
Okay.
section.
Yeah, thank you so much for that also.
Thank you, sir.
Sonu, if you can unmute your mic.
Okay. Hi, Aditya. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Sir, I have seen many places people recommending working with the startup for some time right after the college and then looking for jobs in MNCs. Like there's more learning opportunities when we are working for a startup. What's your thoughts about that?
So it depends on what your priorities are. So there are a few things you have to consider. That is, one of the things is what will be your learning curve, what is your job profile. Then there is a question of job security. Then there is a question of work culture. So it depends from person to person how they prioritize their choice. So if you are looking for a better work culture and a good pay, you should go for MNCs. If you're looking to core work and you are okay with compromising on the other factors, so you should go for the other. So it comes down to personal priorities actually, but there are some things you should keep in mind when you're choosing a company. That is, the most important thing for me personally is the kind of growth you get and the kind of learning curve you get. So initially, as a fresher, your aim should be to learn, because for the next 5 years, so if, for example, if you get into a company and the work quality is really low, they're paying a lot and they are giving a good culture also, but you're not learning. So 2 years into the job, you're still doing the same job, there is no growth curve. 4 years into the job, and suddenly one day they lay you off. What do you have in your hand? You had a great pay, you had a great work culture, but now where do you go? Because your skills are minimized. And working for 4 years now, you can't go back to studying or doing a master's. It's really tough to transition from job to studying and then again to job. So that is one of the things. So the main focus should be to learn. So even if you don't have a job after 2 years, what is your takeaway? Did you learn a new skill? Did you learn technical and non-technical skills? So for personally, I think your aim should be to go to a place where you get to learn a lot. And regarding startups and MNCs, you do get to learn a lot in both because you'll be stepping into a new phase of life. But generally, I feel the issue with startups is that the question of job security. If you get to work in a well-established startup, then it's not an issue. And especially in the current situation, we have seen that the startups or companies which did not have a clear foundation or a strong grounding, they just fired people off like just like that. So that's an issue. That's one of the issues. And then there is a question of mass recruiters again. So from what I have heard, there are companies that just give you a placement offer, but then they do not call you to work for a year because they want to overhire. So you should keep that thing. You should have just one thing in mind, that you should go to a place where you get to learn a lot. That 2 years down the line, your growth curve should be on a level that is higher to the one right now, not a curve that is lower. So I actually had one of the experience during my placement sessions. That was one of the companies had come. I do not want to take the name, but they had put up their job profile as software development. And when we actually went to the interview, he asked me, "Do you want to ask me a question?" The entire interview was focused on if you are given a support role, if you are made to sit in a call center, what would you do? And when I asked him what the job profile was, he was like, "You'll be providing call support." And I'm like, "What do you mean call support in a software development job?" And he's like, "You'll be supporting the development task. So if people have issues, you'll just call them if they say that, okay, my router is not working." So it's not a bad job, but for an engineer, if you look 2 years down the line, what will be your takeaway from that job? What will be your technical skill from that job? It was paying us 12 lakhs a year. That's a great pay for a fresher. And the company is an MNC, the work culture would have been great. But what would have been my takeaway 2 years down the line? It would be a disaster for my career ahead. So that's a wrong step to take in your career if you are taking it at the step you are stepping into the industry. One thing you should note is that there is no loss of opportunities everywhere. It is never too late to begin. But the thing is, once you, the companies that come to hire you as a fresher, they have a different kind of expectation from you. And the companies that come to hire you from industry have a different kind of expectation from you. As a person, as a fresher, they expect you to know your core stuff, the things you have studied, your core IT fundamentals. But once you are into the job, they expect you to have a good technical knowledge for the role they will be hiring you for. So the issues and the challenges become greater once you are hired from an industry. So you should keep that in mind, that you do not step into the wrong kind of job and your learning curve does not degrade.
Yeah, we should be really careful while choosing our career path. Yes. Okay, so now we can move on to the next question. We have a question from Anand. Anand, please do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Hello, Aditya.
Hello.
I have a question about the interview part. I have heard that Google conducts something called whiteboard interviews. You will be asked to solve a problem on the whiteboard and explain as you go along the problem. So did you have to undergo that?
So for me, it was not like whiteboard, but yeah, you can call it a whiteboard test or a pen and paper test. So basically, they give you a problem statement, they ask you to code, they ask you to explain it and stuff like that. Yes, I had to experience that in the first round itself.
So how was your experience? Did you feel any pressure or something like that?
Okay, so the thing is that like I have been saying since the start of the session, that the culture at Google is great, the people are great, and they are really casual and they understand what your situation is. So for me, the first round was actually the coding round. They had brought a piece of problem statement. They asked me to code it. They asked me to write the code for it. The preferred language was Python, but I told that I'm not that proficient with Python. I've done it in C++. So he was like, okay, doesn't matter. You can code it in any language. Even in fact, if you want to write the pseudo code, you can write it, because for them, it doesn't matter what the specifics are. They just want to know your potential and if you know your stuff. So they asked me to write the code first. I wrote my code. He gave me a set of data set and he asked me to trace it. I traced it. Then he had brought a piece of code with him and he asked me to trace that code and asked me to explain what the issue with the code was, how will we solve the issue in this code, and asked me to write the code that will solve the persistent issue in the code itself. then he focused on the core fundamentals of our programming, that how does it compile, and if code was compiled in C in a Windows platform, would that compiled binary file run on a on a Linux system? So the kind of questions that judge you on your understanding of how the system actually works. So in your curriculum, you will have these kind of things, but if you have the right kind of understanding, you can actually extrapolate those concepts and answer those kind of questions. So I did. So it was my first interview. I actually was really nervous for other interviews, but for Google specifically, I had kept a really positive mindset. I was like, okay, I don't want to do anything that I'll regret later. So I had gone with the mindset that yes, I can do it, I will get it, and I'll try my best. So I was nervous, but I was not. I like, it was exciting. It was like I wouldn't have fumbled or something like that there, because even in fact the time they come into the interview, they actually try to make you really comfortable. They're like, how are you, is there something? Actually, I do have a story to share regarding that. So for my role there are 23 people hired, and one of them was interviewed at the Google's office, and he was not feeling well that day, and the gap between the second round and the third round was really long, and we were sit to made in a room alone. So he actually fell asleep, and the interviewers didn't wake him up because they understood that he was not well, and they waited for him to wake up, and then they came, and he, when he woke up, there was no one around, and he was in sheer panic for 15 minutes, and then they came up to him, and they're like, sorry, we didn't want to wake you up. If you're ready, we can take an interview, or if you want 10 more minutes to freshen up or something like that. So for companies that actually value you, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you are wearing formals or not, but it's a good thing because it makes you look presentable. It doesn't matter if you are if you imagine what kind of company allows you to sleep in an interview, they'll just ask you to walk out. But the culture there is so nice that they just care about what your potential is, what your knowledge is. So that kind of culture makes you feel comfortable, and it just removes all the outliers that okay, this is the thing that might get me rejected, or this is the thing I should be nervous because he'll judge me on my appearance or how I dress. They're really specific about that, and they don't care about it. Even if you walk into an interview in shorts, they won't mind, because they just care about what your knowledge is and what your potential is. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Like even in after getting into Google and hearing that guy's experience, it was just amazing to hear, and it was kind of a shock that they did actually value his sleep during an interview.
That's great of you to share those pleasant experience with us. We have a next question from Aparna, and you can unmute your microphone.
Hi, Aditya. You said a lot about your experiences in Google. So I just want to know what was the reaction of your family and friends on knowing that you got placed in Google? Like, how excited was everyone?
Right. So I would like to share this experience in two parts. One is the people who know me, and the one is the people who do not know me. So I was actually in Bangalore, where my college is, and my family was actually in Surat. That's where we stay. So I just got a call from my recruiter, and he was in complete serious tone, and he is like, "Will you please?" So the process at Google is, after you give the interview, you are not actually selected. Your interview hiring packet goes to a reviewing committee, which sees all your pros and cons and the feedback from all interviews, and then they decide. So the gap between the day your interview ends and the day you get hired is like, it's around 15 to 20 days or a month, or it can go up to 2 months. So I actually had my interview in November, and I got hired in January. So the day I got a call from a recruiter, and he was in a complete serious tone, and he's like, "Aditya, can you please sit down?" And I'm like, shit, I'm not going to get hired. And then he's like, "Where are you going to give me a party?" And then I was like, okay. And I didn't even wait to finish the call, and I just I was staying with my aunt actually, and I just told her, and I just did lip sync and told her that I have been selected, and she didn't even wait for me to call my dad, and she just called it. My dad had actually gone out to a place to eat that morning, and from what he tells, that he was so happy that he actually doesn't remember the taste of what he ate. So yeah, and they were, of course, everyone was just waiting. It had been 2 months since the interview had happened, and we were waiting for it really eagerly. So they were really happy. And about my friends, yes, they were really happy too, and they just congratulated me and stuff. And about the people that don't know me, and I think that counts everyone on LinkedIn and the people who have approached me. And even at the beginning of session, I told you that please don't call me sir because I'm just like you. So people who do get hired at companies are normal people. They are usual people. But suddenly, when you get hired, people start thinking that you are some sort of genius and he just did something amazing. So that's not the situation. So that is the kind of reaction from people like you. So there is actually a Quora answer that what is the first thing that you receive after you get selected at Google, and then he's like that people start assuming you are a genius, which is not true. And that is the kind of reaction you get from people around you who don't actually know you or haven't worked with you or studied with you. So yeah, that was my experience. The experience was just awesome. In fact, the recruiter was giving me out details that I'll be sending a mail in 10 minutes and stuff like that. I'm like, please cut the call and call me after 10 minutes because I can't process anything you're saying right now.
That's actually so cool. And we don't know you before, but we are actually so happy for you. And we can move on to the
Actually,
next question. We
I
have
would like to follow up on this. So there is one thing I really want to talk about is that one thing you should focus is on surround yourself with people that help you grow, that always keep you up. You should always have one person in life who tells you what the reality is, no matter what the situation is, but also help you find the right solutions and tell you that it's not too late now and you can still get up. And the kind of people that are happy for you and help you grow, not the kind of people that are happy to you and are and need something from you and then backbite about you. So that kind of negativity you should not have in your life. You should always have people that want the best for you and help you grow. So keep that in mind and choose the right kind of people for yourself.
Yeah, that's really informative for us. That's really informative for students like us. And we are moving on to our final question. We have a question from Austin. Austin, please do unmute your mic and ask question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, my question is there any hurdles you come across to get a job in such a dream company, and who helped you, like the family or the friends?
Okay. So yes, we do have our all set of challenges. So for no one the life is straight and goes upwards. What goes up must come down. But you have to get up and fight it, and you have to face it no matter what. You should not get demotivated. So yes, I did have my set of challenges, and yes, I did have all the support I could get from my family and friends, especially my father. He just told me that yes, in fact he was the person who asked me to go to the interview alone and not with my friends. Keep a positive mindset, and yes, you can do it. So yes, that does help us a lot. And yes, I had the support from the right kind of people that I required. In fact, one of them is in the meeting as well. uh, so yeah, that is there. And we have our own set of challenges. So uh, the day I gave my test for Google, that was an online test, I had not expected that I would be shortlisted. Like, it had gone well, but I wasn't hoping because I thought the criteria would be too high. And I had just given the test in September and I'd forgotten about it. And then suddenly, a day in November, they call me and they tell me that, okay, you have been shortlisted and this is the interview process. So I wasn't actually prepared, but I was like, okay, now I have to do my best. And in the 5 days that I have, I'll do what I can and I will have no regrets. So we do have our set of challenges. Even during the interview, there were times when I was feeling a little nervous that, okay, maybe I might have said something that I shouldn't have or something like that. But still, just a call to the right person, to the right people who support you in life can get you up and running. And see, issues and challenges will come in life. There is no workaround to that. But the key thing is that you have to get up, you have to fight, you have to never get demotivated, keep a positive mindset. Because all negativity does is it just pulls you down, it doesn't find you solution. If you are positive, it clears your mind, it gives you the will to fight, and then it gives you the right solution, and things will turn up good one day or the other. So yes, you have to just stand up and face it one way or the other. And that's again come down to that you have to surround yourself with the right kind of people that support you and help you in no matter what situations. And in fact, one more thing that people forget to mention is that be that guy. You surround yourself with people that help you, but you should be that guy that helps people too. Grow and make people grow with you.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for the inputs. Is there anything we have missed on that you would like to add on?
I think we've covered pretty much everything. There was one question that I skipped that I was not sure how to answer. So the question was how to be industry ready. So being industry ready, we know that there are challenges, and the education system and the work culture has a lot of gap. It comes down to contacting the right kind of people. So there is so much there on the internet. We are not living in the 80s when we have to search for things that are not available. We have to go find people. There are people available on the internet. There are resources available on the internet. There are guides available on the internet. You just have to make that effort to find what is the right fit for you, what is the right field for you, what is the right thing you need to do, what is the right steps you need to do. You should work smart. And about the interview procedures, I've already covered what are the things you need to focus on. So yeah, so just keep exploring and do not give up. There is everything available if you do the effort, right effort. Like earlier, for people that did not have access to internet, there were no resources. There is LinkedIn. There are so many course sites. There are so many websites that guide you. There are so many competitive coding websites. There are solutions there on the internet. So you have all the resources in front of you. There, it is all there in front of you. You just have to make the right effort and find the right thing that suits you. And to be industry ready, frankly, from one of the things that I have experienced so far and from the things I have heard, you will never be industry ready unless you have worked in an industry. You can never be too ready for it, but all you can do is do your best, work on the stuff that matters, and do quality work, work hard is all that I can say.
Thank you, sir. And we do have one final question. We have a question from Anu. Anu, please do unmute your mic and ask the question.
Hey Aditya, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
So before getting placed into Google, which all companies did you consider? Was it mostly MNCs or startups?
Oh, okay, that's a great question actually. So see, we have on-campus placements and we have off-campus placements. I wasn't considering for off-campus placements while the placement season was going on in my college because each company has a criteria that if you sit for the procedure once, you can't sit for them for a year or so. So I didn't want to miss my chances on campus. So I did sit for on-campus placements. So there were different types of companies that were coming for on-campus placements. The first thing I would do is just go on Glassdoor, search what the company does, what the reviews are, how the employees rate it, what is the growth curve, or what is the compensation provided, what is the kind of work you will be doing. It's again, it comes down to the same thing. It's all there on the internet. Do your research before you go sit in a company. Don't just blindly go into a company. For me personally, I had a mindset that I won't be sitting for any mass recruiters because the learning curve is really low. If you get the chance, it's really great. If you do not, then you just have to sit idle and do nothing and get paid. It's a great thing to get paid while doing nothing, but it just hurts your growth curve so much. So I had that mindset that I won't be sitting for any of the mass recruiters. Apart from that, just go and do your research. What the company's culture is, how the people rate it, what the employees. So if any of you have used Glassdoor, you can just search a company. There are interview questions, in fact, on Glassdoor. There are experience from people. There are pros and cons listed for the company, and you can just see that if it suits your requirements, you can just go and sit for the company. That is all I have to say. Just don't be like, okay. And there is one more thing I forgot to mention is that don't miss opportunities. You'll think that you are not ready right now. You'll prepare for 3 months and you won't sit for companies for 3 months and then you'll sit. Do not lose opportunities. Even if you're not prepared, do give it a try and do your best, because missing opportunities is the worst thing you can do.
Thank you.
And just research companies and see what their ratings are and how the culture is.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I think I sat for around 15 companies before I got placed into Google, and I actually had an offer from another company, but yeah, I joined this one. So
Okay, thank you so much, Aditya. With that, I think we can conclude our session. Thank you so much for this friendly one and wonderful session. It's the first time I think most of us would be interacting with a guy who's placed at Google. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure actually. I haven't done any of the sessions before. It was actually my first session, so I didn't know how the things would go. But yeah, it was really great interacting with you guys, and just be motivated, keep your goals straight, think about it, do your best, work hard, work smart. Don't get demotivated, and just go for it. Rukna to hai nahi. Don't stop. Just don't stop.
Next, I will call upon Mishana Muhammad Ongumdarikal, President, Community of Developers, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Hello, Aditya.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, let me thank God Almighty for giving us this opportunity to gather here and have this wonderful session. And Aditya, thank you so much for this wonderful session that you have given us, and for how approachable you were when I first, connected with you, and your readiness to share all those links and all those experiences. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for being such a cool person. I must say that. You were so inspiring, so cool, and so motivating. And the things you said, like, in college we get to drive our curve, but in workplace they drive our curve. I think that's going to stay with us all, and that is a very motivating thing. And what you said about the food, and how there's a rule that you should always be 160 feet near to the food. I think that is going to stay with me for a long time, and that is a very big motivating factor. So thank you so much for doing this again. I would also like to thank the college management, our HOD Ramya Miss, and our faculty in charge Raisa Miss. They so badly wanted to be here today, but then our college is a center for NEET exam, and they had to be there. So they have all told me to, extend their gratitude to you as well. And again, thank you so much. And with your extended cooperation, let this be the start of our many more collaborations to come. And I wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors. And to all the code members out here, thank you so much for coming in, for joining us, and for being so interactive and making this session a wonderful one. And thank you, Cecil and Thomas, for your wonderful hosting. And there are lots of people working in the back for the technicalities. And thank you to all of them. Thank you to Code team, Team Code, for having this wonderful session. And again, Aditya, thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure, and yeah, just all the best for your future. I hope that all of you have a great career ahead, and just have fun and work hard and just do your thing.
Thank you, Ms. Shanna, for the vote of thanks. And once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you, especially Aditya, for such a wonderful and interactive session, and for your readiness to all our questions. Thank you for being here. And I would like to thank all others for being here in this session. So signing off, this is Maria Joy and Thomas Suzy.
Thank you so much.